This is one of the worst presidents that I've ever experienced. Anybody that is in agreement with any of this, something is seriously wrong with that individual. There's no way that anybody could think that this was a great America when we see all these people afraid, they're in fear, they feel miserable, hopeless. This is not a great America at all, whatsoever. This president is making people miserable. You're not helping the economy. You're making people scared to spend money, afraid that they're not going to make it. And if they're already going through something, it makes things worse. The reason why Donald Trump crime is going up, it's because of your policies. While you're saying that you want to get rid of crime, you're making crime go up because you're taking people's basic needs away from them, which makes them more desperate. That's why there's all these home invasions. That's why there are people going in stores stealing food. I'm seeing it. The same thing that other people are seeing, they're wanting to blame and point fingers on other presidents. This is the president that is causing this. And anybody that is behind this president, you're not making things better. You're part of the problem. The cabinet, Pam Bondi, J.D. Vance, all these people, Linda McMahon, threatening schools, sending threatening letters, threatening to take funding out of communities, taking food off of people's table, taking health care away from people, taking housing away from people, things that people need, people who are in agreement and cheering on this evil, praying, thinking that some sky god is going to save them from this evil person that's going around and snatching the very lifeline that people need away from them. None of this is great. Not at all. Trump's latest bid to end Epstein's storm, weaponizing the federal government. This is by Stephen Collinson out of CNN. This was July 22nd, 2025. It's about a 9-minute read, but it's basically pointing out that he's so defensive about this Epstein thing. Why do you have to be so defensive? Why do you gotta sue people, sue journalists? Why you gotta sue a paper, Wall Street Journal? Why do you have to weaponize the federal government? Why do you have to be so defensive about a file if you're not having to be worried about being accused of doing anything wrong? If you didn't do anything and you don't think anybody you have to worry about, then why are you so defensive? You know why he's defensive? Because he knows he's in those files. Let's stop playing here. Well, let's stop playing political theatrics. We seen that he was in those pictures and at those parties, and he was really, really close with Epstein. They were buddies, and that's not by an accident. He knew what he was doing. He was participating in a lot of those activities, and it's a cover-up. And some of those people that are loyalists to him, they're hiding things because they want to continue on keeping their job and running this country into the ground. That's the reason why. Donald Trump's bid to smother the uproar over the accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein shows that he's already achieved one goal his critics most feared from his second presidency. The Justice Department and the head of the U.S. intelligence community are now openly operating as fully weaponized tools to pursue the president's personal political needs in the degradation of the governing system meant to be an antidote to king-like patronage. This new dynamic underpinned a wild Oval Office press appearance by Trump on Tuesday in his latest attempt to put out the Epstein fire that had only the now familiar effect of feeding the flames. The more he gets defensive about a lot of this, is the more people see that he's probably more than likely involved in a lot of what Epstein was involved in. The more he gets defensive about any of the people that accuse him, and he puts up this wall, and then he claims people are stupid, the people who voted for him. Well, I can't really disagree, because anybody who had voted for you has to have their head examined. Because you haven't been making America great. You've been making people's lives a living hell. Totally miserable. Taking housing away, taking jobs away, cutting programs that people need to survive. That's not making America great. Let's stop playing games here, you guys. Nobody's having a good time, not right now. The only people who feel anything that benefits them in all of this is evil people just like him. And the people who hoard their money and they open up restaurants, politicize their cars, and want you to give them more money so they can become even richer. I ain't gonna say no names. The extent of the president's capture of two key agencies that are vital to keeping Americans safe was revealed when a reporter asked a question about his administration's refusal to open all the files related to the Epstein case. The president pivoted to a tirade against Barack Obama. This man is blaming Biden, Barack Obama, and whoever else. He's pointing fingers at other people who aren't even in office anymore. What the fuck does that have to do with you being accused in the Epstein files? But he's going to use him. He's going to say that he had something to do with it, and he's the one that's roaring up all of this stuff. Says that he accused Obama, accusing the former president of staging a treason coup against him. Oh, please. Can you believe this? Basing his assault on a convenient and misleading memo about Russia's 2016 election meddling that was released last week by the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. The Justice Department has also been activated yet again to give Trump a cover. So Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche announced on Tuesday that he will take a highly unusual move of meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell, who was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison for carrying out a years-long scheme with her boyfriend Epstein to groom and sexually abuse underage girls. To ask what she knows but hasn't so far told. She's kept it to herself. But I will say this. If anybody knows about Trump being involved with Epstein, it would be her. I mean, she was there. She was involved in it. So she knows in her head who's on the list. She could probably tell what happened. So it says that Epstein, he died in jail while awaiting a trial on the sex trafficking charges. They claim that he had hung himself. It says, "I don't know anything about it," Trump told reporters. He said this in the Oval Office. This was on Tuesday, and this seems a stretch since Blanche is Trump's former personal lawyer and plans to speak with a prisoner who has a clear incentive to offer testimony that could help a president who has the power to let her out of prison. So, think about this. Do you think Ghislaine Maxwell is that evil that she would lie for Trump? Maybe knows that he was involved in all of it, but in her benefit, if she lied, he would pardon her and get her out of prison. Hell yeah. I mean, she's probably going to do that. She wants to really get out. She wants to go back with her family. She's going to probably make up some bullshit story and make it look like he wasn't involved when we all know he was. And we're probably never going to see the list. And the list is the one that's in prison right now. She has it in her head, and she knows she can look at people, and she remembers all the people who are participating in that, but she's concerned right now for herself and her well-being and getting out of prison, so she's not going to tell on the president because he's her ticket out of prison. We all know this. Stop fucking with yourself, thinking that she's gonna tell the truth. She's not gonna fucking tell the truth. Other new developments in the deepening Epstein intrigue Tuesday only underscored that the president failed attempts to extinguish it. Because the more he's defensive, the more we know he's involved. Whether she tells the truth or not, we know he was there. We see the fucking pictures and the videos of him dancing around with all those girls. So the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, he has said that he does not plan to allow votes on any measure related to the Epstein matter until September, effectively bringing forward a summer recess to postpone consideration of bipartisan measure demanding transparency and the release of the files on the Epstein case. Meanwhile, the House Oversight Committee is expected to subpoena Maxwell expeditiously as possible, a committee source they told CNN, and CNN K-File on Tuesday reported new details about Trump's relationship with Epstein, including the photos taken at the future president's 1993 wedding to Marla Maples. The pictures predate any of the Epstein's known legal issues, and the White House described them as out-of-context frame grabs of videos and pictures of disgustingly infer something nefarious going on. So you see newly sworn in Director National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, who shakes the hand of the President Trump in the Oval Office at the White House. This was February the 12th, 2025. This out of Washington, D.C. So it's time to go after people. Trump's aim in the Oval Office was clear. So he's going to go on the rampage and start attacking other people. So it makes him look like he's not the villain when he clearly is. He was cooking up a new slate of programming featuring his favorite targets, Obama, Hillary Clinton, among others. Who knows? Probably all the people that wrote books about how horrible an individual he is. So for the MAGA's media machine, hoping to replace days of coverage of the administration's missteps. But there was also a more sinister aspect to his comments. Even though Gabbard's claims are easily disproved, the president implied that he was serious about training the power of the U.S. government on his political foes. We're not surprised about that. He's already kind of done that. He's doing whatever he wants to do, and he's running this country in the ground, and he's making people's lives hell. So it's time to start, after what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. This is what Trump said. It's time to go after people? Do you hear how he talks? He's already been going after people. He's gone after people he doesn't even know. He's taken jobs away. He's taken certain benefits away from people. He's threatening to take things away from people. And what he hasn't taken, he's trying to figure out how to take that. We don't even want to see what's going to happen in another year, another 2-3 more years. So it says Obama's been caught directly. His orders are on the paper. The papers are signed, and the papers came right out of the office. Obama has not been caught directly. This is what Gabbard's memo, which included newly declassified documents, claimed that the administration hatched the treason conspiracy that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help Trump. So remember that when Obama was president, and then all of these things were coming out. And so Trump is trying to go after Obama, attacking him. He's attacking everyone. He's an angry person, and he's going after all of these people because he doesn't like them. And people he doesn't even know. He just wants to hoard money, so he's going after them so he can stay rich. These are evil people, y'all. Evil. It's crazy. So it says that Gabbard, who has a political incentive to repair her relationship with the president, highlighted intelligence findings that Russians did not change election results in 2016 through attacks on voting systems. But the Obama administration never said that this happened, focusing instead of cyber attacks on the Democratic campaign officials and other online disruption efforts. So Gabbard appears to be arguing that since there was no successful hacking of the election machines, there was no election meddling. So that's what she's trying to say, and that there was a whole saga that was invented by the Obama team to keep Trump out of power. Well, if that was true, then he wouldn't be president, right? So I don't believe that bullshit for 1 minute. I think they're just reaching. That's what I think. So Obama's office, they rebutted what it called the White House's latest example of nonsense and misinformation, which he's right. It's misinformation. Calling it bizarre, ridiculous, a weak attempt at a distraction. Yeah, it is. He just wants to deflect away from those Epstein files. He's trying to point fingers at everybody else, and he doesn't want you to look at what he's done wrong. That's what he's doing. So it says, but in Trump's looking glass world, the statement was taken as evidence of guilt. But it's the art of deflection coming from the president, the former president Obama as well as his friends who are still in Congress today, he claims. So Gabbard, she's the one that said this. This was on Fox News, which really Fox News is a political front for Republicans. So they put out all this bullshit that the right like to hear. So this was in an interview with the president's daughter-in-law, Lara Trump. So as he often does, Trump seemed to project offenses of which he was accused with far more evidence onto his opponents. But what they did to this country in 2016, but going up all the way to 2020 in the election, they tried to rig the election. He's back at this again. And they got caught. We know who's saying this. He always thinks somebody rigged something against him when we know that this election was rigged. That's why you're in office again. Ruining the country in one full swoop. Hasn't even been a year yet, and already people are running scared. Worst president ever. This is not a good president. I said it. I have to keep saying. Do I have to keep saying this? This is not a good president. He should not be president. He should be impeached. He should be in jail. And anybody that elected him needs their head examined. And all these people that are rallying behind him, his cabinet, they need to all be locked up too, right along with him. The FBI, the Justice Department, issued a memo this month saying that there was no evidence of a conspiracy theory that Epstein left a list of famous clients or that he was murdered in prison rather than taking his own life in 2019. So they're covering everything up. They want you to believe what they want you to believe. So here we go with the fake news again. Trump is deeply frustrated at his supporters and he won't accept it. We had the greatest 6 months of a president in history of our country, and all the fake news wants to talk about is the Epstein hoax. The Jeffrey Epstein hoax. He sounds like Alex Jones right now. You don't hear this? This is crazy. This is what he wrote on Truth Social, the news channel. His favorite news that he spent all afternoon showing footage of his latest tirade or his diatribe. That is. So it's impossible for outsiders to know whether Epstein's controversy is the result of a true cover-up or is it a classic political screw-up that often makes Washington scandals more worse. But after blasting supporters who worry about the Epstein case as weaklings and now going after Obama in his latest attempt at the moving of the goalpost, it's Trump's who is now making it impossible not to ask the question, why is he so desperate to go this far and for this to go away? Look at these pictures. Oh my God. Tell me that isn't incriminating. You're that close to this man and he's a sex trafficker and you don't know what the fuck he was involved in? I mean, seriously. He looks like he's his ace boon coon buddy. That picture alone is incriminating. It's all a scam. The presidency that we're under right now, all of it is a scam. One big scam. So the Justice Department, they act like Trump's personal lawyer now because, you know, he has them like that. The second arm of the Trump's pincer movement to try to put the Epstein saga in the past came from the Justice Department. Only 2 weeks ago, the FBI and the DOJ declared in their memo that we did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. So, yet on Tuesday, Blanche announced that he tests the proposition by visiting Maxwell. So that's why they want to visit her, so they can make it seem like it's real that she had no dealings with Trump in that manner, and that he had no dealings with Epstein. So if they get her word, then she's probably gonna more than likely get freed from prison. Let me tell you, if she collaborates with them and she says that he wasn't involved, watch she get out of prison. Watch she's gonna get out. She's not gonna, or her sentence is gonna be reduced significantly. Time served. I feel that's what would be coming next. It's a complete cover-up, if you ask me. But they demand that justice demands courage, Blanche wrote on X, okay, insisting that no lead is off limits. So in a statement posted by Attorney General Pam Bondi on social media, Blanche added that Maxwell has information about anyone who has committed crimes against victims. The FBI and the DOJ will hear what she has to say. So do you think they're going to honestly go in there, have her to make a statement, and that they're not going to prep her on what to say and what not to say? Don't buy this bullshit for 1 minute. The latest gambit may just be an attempt to create a splash that MAGA activists concerned with the case might accept as transparency, but it is fraught with political and even legal risks for the Justice Department, and like Trump's previous attempts to douse the scandal, it seems already to have failed in its primary objective. So it seems like a massive, I believe they want to say coup. Far-right activist Laura Loomer, she said this in a text to CNN. So why didn't they ask to meet with her before the memo was even released? 4th of January, 4th of July weekend, when they could have asked her then. They could have asked her long ago. You know, what her dealings were. What they could have asked about a client list way before all of these accusations came up. But no, they want to do this right now. You think they won't prep her and tell her what to say and what not to say? Maybe even threaten her that if she does tell the truth, that they might somehow, she might disappear just like Epstein did. I just don't buy any of this. So it seems like this should be already have taken place, Loomer said. So I agree. I think it should have already happened. I mean, if they were that concerned. But notice they really weren't. They're only concerned about conserving this horrible man that's in office, that's ruining people's lives in under a year, and benefiting all of the other bad ones that are out there. The possibility that the approach to Maxwell is motivated by more than a political public relations exercise must also be considered, but she has an incentive to offer the White House what it wants. Information that could put the focus and the spotlight on someone else, but there is every reason to think that she would give false testimony. Of course, she's not going to tell the truth. She's going to lie if it helps her get out of prison. So Ryan Goodman, a New York University law professor, told CNN Erin Burnett she has no fear of giving false testimony, because otherwise she is going to be spending until she's 75 years old in prison. So the only other choice is that she may give the kind of testimony she thinks the White House wants to hear. Then she can get off. They said it later in this article, and I said it way before I got down to reading this. What do you know? I have common sense. I know what the fuck's going on because I can see right through this bullshit. And anybody with common sense, such as I do, can see right through this bullshit, that she's going to use this to her advantage so she can get out of prison. Why does she have to tell the truth? She's already locked up. This is dumb. It's dumb. It's so dumb. It is dumb. The idea that Maxwell is holding something back belies both the recent Justice Department memo and the wide-ranging prosecution against her that started with charges during the first Trump administration and it ended in a conviction and a 20-year prison sentence during the Biden administration. So, an obvious approach for Maxwell's lawyers would be to seek to secure concessions, perhaps a shortening. There we go. I said it, didn't I call it? I said maybe if she doesn't get out, her sentence will be hella short. It'll be like she might as well walk away anyways and get out scot-free. So that's what her lawyers are probably going to do. They're going to ask perhaps shortening or a commutation of her sentence in return for the information she might provide. So Jeremy Salan, a former Manhattan prosecutor, paraphrased what her counsel might request. This is on CNN Central on Tuesday. Get me out. Give me an opportunity. Of course. I mean, if you know you're going to probably spend almost more than half your life in prison and they want this juicy information for you, that the president's involved in being, implicated in being in cahoots with a sex trafficker, a well-known sex trafficker, with all of the things that people have put online about this Pedofile Island and the flight list. You think she's going to tell the truth? No. And do you think she's going to do all that she can with her lawyers to get a lower sentence, or be able to get out of prison? Yeah. Of course. It says still, the Maxwell didn't have information implicating others in Epstein's alleged crimes. It's unclear why she did not offer it during her own prosecution when she might have been able to save herself. So, of course, by the time she was found guilty, 2021, Epstein was gone, and the value of testimony that she might have been able to provide against him as a cooperating witness was moot. So 6 years after his death, however, the political implications of the hideous crimes of which he was accused are growing uncontrollably. So it's just getting worse and worse and worse, and people are wanting to know how deep is the president involved with Epstein? How much dealings did he have? What all parties was he in attendance? What did he do at these parties? And who is his wife, Melania? I've heard stories about her that weren't great either. Yeah, believe it or not, I've heard some stories about her. I mean, come on, y'all. Do you think that these people are going to tell the truth? This man is a sex trafficker. He had a whole ass island with young underage minor girls and probably boys, but mainly girls. He was grooming. He had kids coming, giving him massages, and then he was offering him money for sexual favors. And Donald Trump was at his house parties and dancing around, and you mean to tell me that he doesn't know anything about what Epstein was doing? Come on, y'all, look at this. If you're that close to somebody and you're constantly in connection with them, you're always around them, you're gonna know what's going on. There's no way you don't know what's happening. And we're sitting here trying to fool ourselves that maybe he just was in attendance at the parties, but he wasn't a participant. There's no way. There is no way. There's no way. I just don't understand why we're sitting here even pretending like he doesn't know. Look at this. He knows. He was on those lists. He knows what this man was doing. It's because he was there. All this is a cover-up. That's what it is. We're looking at a cover-up.